I am extremely late to the party and I'm also terribly exhausted, but I finally got my hands on an R5 Mark II. This one is courtesy of Mr. Jordan Polmano. If you're watching me on YouTube, you're probably watching him. But in case you don't know Jordan, he is an amazing cinematographer and another Canon nerd like me. And I'm very excited because this camera have Canon Log 2 in a compressed format. Now, Canon Log 2 has been in a small mirrorless camera since the R5 Mark I, if you recorded raw video, but I don't have that kind of hard drive space. Anyway, I have a production coming up. I'm going to film a play, and I normally shoot the wide angle with the R5C in Canon Log 3 and the close-up with the C70 in Canon Log 2. But now I'll be able to film both in Canon Log 2, but is the R5 Mark II going to overheat? Now I just have it, the camera body and the Tilta half cage. I don't have the grip with the fan accessible to me at this time, and I'm hoping that the camera can hold it together for the 2 hours that I need it to. And I believe there's going to be a brief intermission in the middle, so I'll be able to turn it off. I'm also going to run it off of a USB-C power delivery instead of the internal battery. Hopefully that will take some of the heat off of the camera, and then compare to see how well the Canon Log 2 footage from the R5 Mark II matches up with my C70, which I think is kind of like the gold standard of Canon cameras and the way that they look. Anyway, let's jump to tomorrow with the production, and I'll show you my setup. Also, how are the wobbles in the corners of the frame from the in-body image stabilization on the R5 Mark II? Compared to even my R6 Mark II, it gets pretty wobbly, and I've actually stopped filming vlogs with the image stabilization on in this lens because I cannot turn off the in-body image stabilization while keeping the lens stabilization on. I wish, please Canon, uncouple the image stabilization from the lens and the in-body stabilization in your cameras. You know, I would really appreciate that. All right, well, I can never tell on the little screen on the camera. I always got to look at it in the computer, so let's see how it looks.
Tomorrow.
The city of Selma is replacing some parking spots with trees. This is gonna be awesome. It's gonna help the air and it's gonna shade the cars that are parked in the parking spots. All right, we got the C70 doing the close-up. Got the R5 Mark II on the wide, but just as a backup, I have the R6 Mark II, because I know that one won't overheat. Jordan did warn me that he's had this camera run like 3 hours straight and not overheat, but some days he's had it run 45 minutes and overheat, so we're gonna find out. But I'm also really curious to see how well the C-Log 2 matches up between the C70 and the R5C. So let's get on with the show.
Idiota.
The lady that sells the tamales is on the mariachi plaza? Sí, la conozco. She told me that I could get a ticket for that.
Well, Keisha, I look good. I can say every building I own is like a child of mine. They take just as much energy to keep up with. I know, I'm lucky.
She believes from the nose and mouth.
My heart is here with you. Always. I got!
Oh man, we just barely made it. The show just ended, 2 hours, almost 15 minutes. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I even ran it off a V-mount battery to try to pull the heat off of the battery there. But I made it, just barely. It's about 70, 72 degrees in this room, maybe 75 degrees. But yeah, it's pretty risky. I'm glad I have the R6 Mark II as a backup, but the R5 Mark II just barely cutting it close for event work.
Moments later.
I just stopped recording. It looks like it's cooling off pretty quickly here. That's nice that, you know, you don't have to like put it in a refrigerator for it to cool off. It's cooling off pretty quickly on its own. That's good. Okay, the Canon R5mkII, it's a very cool camera, but it's clearly not the camera for me. I do a lot of event recording, and I got to run the camera for 2 or 3 hours, and we made it to 2 hours and 15 minutes in a 72, 75 degree room, and it was gonna overheat. We were on the last dot. I am really excited to get this footage back home. I'm backing it up right now, but I'm excited to get it back home and look at it on my MacBook screen and compare it to the C70. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna work out for me. I don't need one, and even if I did, that's not the camera that I need. I think I'm still very well suited with my C70, my R5C, and my R6mkII. And for a long time, I was like, this R5C and the R6mkII only have Canon Log 3 in the compressed format. I have to shoot RAW if I want Canon Log 2, and I just don't want to deal with those huge file sizes. But I am old enough to remember when people were complaining about Canon Log 2 when it first came out, and people were like, oh, this is too flat. I don't know how to color grade this. It's too hard. It's too flat. And then, some really good workarounds or LUTs came out, some lookup tables from like Phantom and Buttery LUTs. And I think what's really done it for me was actually Gerald Undone has made some lookup tables, not just like general Canon Log 2, Canon Log 3. He has done lookup tables for each camera to look absolutely neutral based off of his really nice chip chart. And honestly, I was working on a similar thing in DaVinci Resolve. I was working on one, and actually I had done it last year. I made one for the C70 and Canon Log 2 and Canon Log 3, the R5C and Canon Log 3, the R6mkII and Canon Log 3, and even my older EOS R and original Canon Log. And they match together pretty well. But Gerald has done like all of the heavy lifting. He even did the like raw codecs or the raw files from the R5C and the C70, which I was too lazy to do. So it's really cool. But then the other thing is his lookup tables also match with his Panasonic V-Log and his Sony S-Log LUTs as well. So like if you just buy the Sony, the Panasonic, the Canon lookup tables from him, they're all gonna match. Like way back, I was doing something similar. I bought Film Convert, and I was using Film Convert to make all my stuff look like film, but then it was also really easy to match back when I was filming on a GH4 and a Sony a7S II, and I just couldn't get those to match for the life of me, except for when I ran them through Film Convert. And then they actually made their own tool called Cinematch, which seems all right, but you're just turning one log format into another. And then DaVinci Resolve has its color space transform, but they're not like camera specific the way the Gerald Undone ones are. This isn't a sponsored recommendation, although Gerald, if you would like me to sponsor your lookup tables, I would gladly take a check to tell people to go buy them because I really enjoy them. Gerald, you do need to make Apple Log iPhone LUTs. I know I think you're still an Android user, but if you could get your hands on an iPhone 16 Pro or an iPhone 17 Pro and make Apple Log 1 and Apple Log 2 lookup tables based on your charts to match all your other LUTs, that would be killer. That's getting me by. The only thing I might do is I might sell my R6mkII and get a Canon C50, but even then I don't need it. The R6mkII is my C camera and it's my vlogging camera. So at that point, then what do? Do I use the C50 as my vlogging camera? Probably not. It's more expensive and it's going to be brand new. I'd probably make the R5C my vlogging camera and put the dual battery grip under it and put the LPE6Ps in it. With two of those, I can get about 2 hours recording time in 24p. And then I have all the nice cinema tools, but I also really like to black balance the cameras often, and that seems antithetical to like vlogging like this. So yeah, I'm not sure, but let's get home and let's take a look at this footage. Okay, I guess I should have taken some photos with this camera for it to be like a proper review. But I did look at the footage and it looks really good. It looks really clean. Now, the way that I shoot these events, especially like plays and musicals like this, like I spend I protect the highlights like a lot. I really don't want to clip. So even in the dark scenes, like it's pretty dark because I don't, especially if I don't know the show very well, like lights could come up at any moment. And I really hate blowed out footage. So I will sit in the shadows a lot. And yeah, I probably, even with the C70, like I'm probably wasting a lot of the dynamic range that's possible, but I really hate blown out footage. So I think this looked pretty good, but in terms of the way that I shoot, I don't know if I'm really netting much of a gain on dynamic range over the R6 Mark II. And, you know, with the fear of overheating, without the double battery grip with the fan, which even then does not guarantee no overheating, especially in higher frame rates like 60 frames per second and 120 frames per second, which again, I think the R6 Mark II, at least at 60 frames per second, has an advantage of being an oversampled image from the 6K sensor. I believe in the R6 Mark or in the R5 Mark II, 60 frames per second still isn't fully oversampled. So yeah, the R6 Mark II is kind of the thing for like event video. If you needed kind of a camera that isn't a full-on cinema line camera, that's kind of the one to go for, unless C-Log 2 dynamic range is the absolute thing that you need, or 120 frames per second is what you need. But even then, I would look at the R5C because it has the fan and doesn't overheat. It's 60 frames per second, is also oversampled from the 8K sensor, and it has 120 frames per second, albeit also, I think, pixel bend, like the R5 and R5 Mark II. Now, I'm making this video, and like probably a month from now, Canon is going to announce the R6 Mark III, which the rumor sites have been talking about. And that will be really interesting because that's going to up the megapixel count on a very similar camera from 6K to 7K. People are speculating that it's going to be the same sensor as the C50. I wonder if it's going to make the R6 Mark II a worse video camera because there's more megapixels to deal with. And I don't know if Canon is going to have a new processor coming out along with this new camera and new sensor. So I think the R5 Mark II, and I should have taken more photos with it.
24 hours later.
So I got to hold on to the camera for a few more days just because my schedule and Jordan's schedule hasn't lined up perfectly for us to exchange cameras back. So I got to bring this with me to the Fresno Arts Council Horizon Awards and use it as it's probably primarily intended as a photo camera. I had the EF 24-105 on it and took a bunch of pictures at the event. And it operated magnificently. It felt just like taking pictures on any other Canon camera. The pictures are punchy and colorful the way I like, and it didn't have any kind of issues overheating or otherwise. The only thing I didn't do that I would have liked to spend more time with is set up the focus points based on where my eye is looking inside of the EVF. But I wear glasses, and I hear that doesn't necessarily work very well with folks with glasses. And if I remember correctly, it's kind of a long setup process to get it up and running. So, who is this camera for? It's obviously for photographers. And if someone is making videos that record in short bursts, I think is really where this camera shines. The 2-hour play and cutting it really close on the heat warning, it is scary. So it's not a camera for me, but the footage looks great. The photos look amazing. It's tons of megapixels. The 48 megapixels is almost like too much for me. I really liked the 30 megapixels of the EOS R. And I think for me, the camera that Canon makes in its photo line that's best suited for me is the camera I'm recording with right now, is the R6 Mark II. It's only 24 megapixels, but I have never had it overheat, and I've recorded for hours and hours and hours on end. Even recording 4K 60, I very rarely get an overheat warning, let alone having it totally overheat. The funny thing is from where I'm recording this video, the rumor mill is saying that a R6 Mark III is on the way, and it's going to have the same sensor as the C50, which is 30 megapixels, which is, like I said, I think that's kind of the sweet spot for me, making it a 7K sensor. And the C50 is great. It's a cinema line. It does take pictures, but it's got a fan. It doesn't overheat for any settings. I do wonder, though, if the R6 Mark III, for its video recording capabilities, is going to have overheating issues. It's more megapixels. It's more data that the processor has to crunch down to 4K, 24, 30, 60, ideally 120. That is my one thing that this R6 Mark II is missing, is 4K 120. But I don't really use that feature too much. And I've got the R5C if I need it. So it's a very interesting time. I think I am still very well suited in my lineup. My C70 is my close-up cam, my R5C is the wide-angle cam, and my R6 Mark II is a C camera. It can be another close-up camera. I can put it in Super 35 APS-C mode, or use it as full frame and use it as another wide-angle. It's very versatile. The R5C and the R6 Mark II only having Canon Log 3 is kind of a bummer. It would be nice to have a C50 and have Canon Log 2 in both the C70 and the C50 for my wide angle and my close-up. But like I said earlier, I think the thing that's really alleviated that in my mind is Gerald Undon's lookup tables that really kind of level the playing ground from all of the cameras that he's profiled. He's done a great job profiling a lot of Canon cameras, a ton of Sony cameras, and a good handful of Lumix cameras. It's a love for him to make an iPhone Apple log lookup table for the 15, 16, and now 17 phones, but I can dream. So I want to say thank you to Jordan for letting me borrow his R5 Mark II, kind of putting it through its paces, seeing where the threshold is for overheating, and just getting to experience how cool of a photo and video camera it is, although it's not the camera for me. To commemorate this, I did have some t-shirts made with the now infamous warning sign, overheated, shutting down, warning from the original R5. You can check those out down in the shop on this video. I ordered a sample tee, and I was hoping it would come in time for me to show it off in person, but I will have to show it off in my next video. And if you want to help support the channel, t-shirt is great. You can also support the channel by becoming a patron like these fine folks on patreon.com/Kyle Lowe. If you found this video entertaining or useful, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, hit subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace. Shoo.